So there's two more things working with layers that are really critical to be aware of that you may not recognize because they're not necessarily in the layer panel. I've added a new layer just specifically for this demonstration. It's just a um, rectangle that is white just for the sake of demonstration purposes. So up at the top we have all these options that are going to show up based off of whatever tool you are using. And when you use the Move tool, usually you are going to have this option for auto select as well as show transformation controls. So two things that I want to point out. First of all, when you have show transformation controls, every time you have a layer activated or selected, the transform controls are going to show, and you can technically free transform on the fly. So you would not need to use Command T or edit free transform. It would just show up automatically. So that's a quick go-to. It's nice to know it's there, but I'm not going to lie, this gets in my way a lot, so I keep it off unless I know that I need it. And then the other option is auto select. So I've got it checked right now. This is going to be a personal preference of whether you like it or do not like it. I personally have worked in Photoshop where I do not use auto select very often. I like to know that I can control whichever layer I'm clicking on. And I find that auto select is basically, if you've got the Move tool, it's going to let you move and do whatever you want to that layer now because it's auto selecting it. So now if I went and chose this picture, notice how it just knew to revert to that other picture that I've got going on. If you have this off and you try to move something, it's going to only move whatever is specifically on the layer that you are on. So keep that in mind as you work with the Move tool, and specifically when you're working with any of these options up here. They may be on by default, and you do want to be aware if they're on or if they're off, because sometimes you might inadvertently change something that you don't mean to, and it is something that does take time to get used to, paying attention to which layer you are working on when you're selecting things, moving things, or editing in Photoshop. So that should help you out moving forward working in Photoshop. Just make sure you're paying attention to that if you ever notice that something is off that you're trying to move, so that you know how to change those settings.